and WFM 91.7. WFM 91.7 is Nigeria's first radio station for women and their families. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. In commemoration of the World Radio Day, celebrated every 13th of February, we'll be discussing radio as a powerful tool for amplifying women's voices. Radio has remained one of the most trusted and widely used media. Over the years, radio has played an important role in amplifying the voice of women and educating people on the need to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, orientate people in women's rights, gender equality, and advocate for women to raise society where women can express themselves freely. A lot of programs on radio have been tailored to capture women's attention and educate them on the cultures and norms that we need to do away with as a society. In the course of amplifying women's voices, we have a radio station here in Nigeria dedicated to women and everything that concerns and affects women. And thereby, we have in WFM 91.7, Nigeria's first radio station for women and their families to give women a voice in the society. I have a very, very special guest on the program with me this afternoon. I have Nikia D. Funke Treasure. She's a media trainer, a girl child advocate, author, mentor, speaker, speech and leadership coach, convener, Sanitary Pad Media Campaign, SBMC, with almost 200 schoolgirls on 1 year sanitary pad scholarship in Nigeria. She's a very seasoned broadcast journalist, and I can go on and on and on and on. I can go on for the whole day just to read her profile. Hello, good afternoon, Ma. How are you doing? It's nice to have you on the program this afternoon. Hello, Ma. Good afternoon,
Hello.
Ma. How are you? It's nice to have you on the program.
I'm very well. I'm very well. It's good to be with you on the show today.
It's really an honor, and it's also a pleasure to have you on the program. It's really very nice to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad to be on Nigeria's only radio for women and their families.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, so we're talking about how radio has been used as a tool to amplify women's voices, generally, not just in Nigeria, but just globally. Yesterday was the World Radio Day that was celebrated globally, and the theme was radio and trust. Radio and trust. In your opinion, how has radio fared in amplifying the voices of women?
Well, your radio station demonstrates how, first of all, how radio is amplifying the voices of women. Since inception, you know that you've tailored the programming, to the needs of women, to the yearnings of women, to the desires of women, both in the rural areas and the urban centers. And I know that you've achieved quite a lot in mainstreaming gender issues and getting women to participate in radio discourses and discussions, and getting women to be more enlightened, more aware about their rights, their health, and sexual and reproductive health rights, their political rights, voter awareness among women, and so on and so forth. So your radio station, even achieving the landmark license to operate, tells a lot about the role radio can play in amplifying the voices of women. Having said that, I will expand it a little and go on to the role of community radio stations in educating women generally. And I'm glad that Nigeria gave out licenses the other time for community radio, which is a step in the right direction for a third world country or for a developing country. Let me put it in a better way, so that then we have women who cannot operate at the same mega level as men in operating commercial radio, being given the opportunity to run community radio stations. That's the second one. Then the third one is that with community radio stations and general radio, we see that women are more participatory in issues pertaining to them generally. And so we hear the voiceless, women, people with disabilities, young people have been classified as the voiceless in the society. And so there's been a continuous drive for inclusion of this set of people, of this category of people in discussions and conversations around critical issues all over the world, not just in Nigeria.
Yes.
And so gradually we're seeing the inclusion of this category of people. And so radio plays an important part. You will agree with me that quite a number of women are leading their homes. They're breadwinners in their homes, to put it better. And so there's that need for them to be aware of what's going on and to be empowered. Radio is an empowerment tool. It's a tool, it's a powerful tool, just as you said in the title of this discussion.
Yes.
But it's also a very powerful tool for awareness, creating awareness and for amplifying voices. We see now that we have a multiplicity of voices in the public sphere. We see that we have a kaleidoscope of voices, colorful voices, whether they're market women, who, by the way, almost always with their radio sets.
Yes.
And while they're selling their wares in the open market, you find them listening to their favorite programs. And with convergence of technology with radio, you find them listening to their programs via their mobile phones. So mobile phones and getting to listen to your radio through it has also amplified voices and brought radio more intimately to women and to, other categories of people. You find a lot of artisans also being accompanied in their daily tasks at work with the radio. Many people don't go around with the TV set. So that tells you that the radio or a radio set is ubiquitous. It's everywhere, unlike TV. And it doesn't really need your concentration with your five senses to listen to it. So you can do other things and then be part of what is being discussed on radio. So that's a very powerful way to engage with radio. So once in a while, or as the day fits, you'd find women engaging with discussions on radio, engaging and being heard. It's a powerful thing.
Yes.
I keep using the word powerful because power itself, it's an area of discourse. And when you pull women into the power equation, into the dynamics of power in terms of communication, it gives fantastic results.
Yes. Thank you very much. So one of the things I can deduce from what you said is that if it had been for radio being one of the tools for broadcast in a society, a lot of women's voices wouldn't have been heard.
That's true. And then again, because a lot of our radio stations are now embracing other languages, other languages apart from the English language, it makes it even more democratic in usage for women.
Yes.
So you find that women can engage and be heard and be voices on radio, regardless of their education or their status in the society. So if you can speak my language, because there are stations using the indigenous languages and pidgin English as broadcast languages, it further, as I said earlier, democratized the use of radio and engagement with radio. So you find a lot of women who are not educated being part of discourses and conversations on radio. That's a way of amplifying the voices of women. So you don't need education to be part of what can move you forward as a human being in the environment that you live in.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on the radio being used to hold the government accountable on the promises that they make and pledges that they make to women as well? especially when it comes to the 35% affirmative action and some other areas where women are really in need in society. So, how do you think the radio can hold the government accountable on the promises and pledges they make to women from year to year?
Well, the dissemination of information on radio is already quite powerful. And again, because it is no longer dependent on whether you connected to a power source that is reliable or not. You can power your radio for a long time and, and be part of what's going on. Having said that, yeah, radio can be used to hold government accountable, just like any other communication platform
Yes.
or of communication. It's that's a given already because the political discourse is part of the many discourses on radio, and so when we democratize it further by getting women particularly involved in this accountability drive, then we make it even more accessible. For instance, when the present government floated the trader money
Yes.
project,
Yes.
uh, it was specifically for women.
Mm.
More women benefited from it more than men. Um, from the images that we saw on TV and online, we saw that more women were the beneficiaries. And one of the ways that the government got through to the women was through means of mass communication like the radio.
Mm.
So, and in talking back to government, it was easier for women to use the radio, for program makers to engage with women
Yes.
via radio. So, yeah, radio is a veritable tool in holding government accountable.
Thank you very much for that response. My special guest is still Anike Adefunke, Treasurer, CEO, lead consultant of Yellow Bloom Consulting. We're talking about radio being a powerful tool to amplify the voices of women in the society. Moving right along, I want to find out about the use of radio, especially when it comes to eradicating sexual and gender-based violence in society, because it's such a big menace in our society, which which we're contending with still till now. What are your thoughts? How do you think the radio can be used to curb sexual and gender-based violence in our society?
Well, like any other critical issue plaguing this country at the moment,
Mm.
um, gender-based violence and the violence against women well, is also being discussed on radio. Hitherto, you will hear the voices of men, but nowadays you hear women also weighing in and sharing their stories and telling their stories. So radio encourages storytelling.
Mm.
So women can call in or can be guests
Yes.
and they can share their own personal stories, which can serve to be a deterrent for others or an inspiration or motivation to other women listening. And then it's also a way of amplifying the cause of those who've been victims or those who've been abused to see and hear, particularly because we're talking about radio, to hear and be comforted that this is not going, that issue is being addressed by everyone and they're not alone in that web, in that situation. So, yes, and because you don't need to possess a satellite dish or pay so much money to subscribe to radio,
Mm.
it makes it easy for women to engage on it and for awareness drives like those for the eradication of gender-based violence to be successful on
Mm.
radio. And I think we've recorded quite a number of, a level of success rather, regarding the awareness of sexual-based violence.
Yes. What areas do you think you'd want to see more female centric programs on to help women in the society? Are there any major areas you want to see more female centric programs on to help women in society?
I would, I would like to see more of our grassroots women
Okay.
engage politicians better.
Mm.
I've always said, you said when you were introducing me that I'm the convener of the Sanitary Pad Media Campaign.
Yes.
Now, the issue of menstruation is key, is a pivotal one
Mm.
to, for all women. And so I want to see that women are more conscious of the power they have in engaging with politicians and demanding,
Mm.
just as we said the other time, accountability, but
Yes.
also their rights as human beings. Hillary Clinton said to us many years ago that
Mm.
women's rights are human rights.
Mm.
It is the right of every woman and girl to have period dignity.
Mm.
And part of period dignity is to have access to sanitary pads and other sanitary items for a woman to properly, maintain her hygiene
Yes.
during um, her monthly period. So I want to see that our grassroots women are more aware. We need more programs to let them see that it does not end in dances
Mm.
and freebies and ashwabi and
Mm.
smoke souvenirs
Yes.
when we begin to engage with politicians. We
Mm.
must not leave them alone
Okay.
to continually give women the role of caterers and ashwabi handlers when election and election season comes.
Mm.
They have the power to determine what they want for their children. Ask politicians to give your children sanitary pads. Ask politicians to grade your roads. Ask politicians to give you access to your farms because we have a lot of women who are farmers.
Mm.
And the more we empower women to be farmers, the more food we will have.
Mm.
I'm not saying women are not good farmers, but I'm saying that anything and everything a woman touches blooms,
Mm.
thrives,
Yes.
because we're nurturers
Mm.
by default. And so we must use this nurturing, this attribute, God-given attribute, it's so natural to us
Mm.
to begin to demand for bigger things
Mm.
in the society, to demand for bigger things for our families.
Yes.
So I would like to see programs that talk, addresses or programs that address the issues of bothering on women empowerment and emancipation and awareness and education for their better welfare and how
Yes.
women can press for that, especially as we begin to see all manner of people coming out to be presidents, to want to be presidents of the nation, and
Yes.
governors, senators as
Mm.
we progress in the year. So we need women to do it differently this time around, and we can use radio to amplify that.
Thank you very much. Well said, indeed. Well said. Well said. Moving right along, how do we encourage women, especially grassroots, rural areas, and just generally to talk and participate on radio programs to also sensitize all the women as well?
Let me get your question again. How do we
How do we,
encourage women?
yes, to talk and participate on radio programs so that their voices can be heard? Because largely, what some of the things I've noticed is that, especially even on women's programs, you notice that you get more men even calling in or engaging more, and even interacting. You wonder why some women don't even call in at all. So how do you think we can even encourage women to talk more and participate in radio programs?
Look, I can tell you that as a broadcaster myself and
Mm.
broadcast administrator, it's tough to engage women,
Mm.
to get them to participate in radio programs, to even calling.
Yes.
Uh, women are used to being backbenchers and being seen and not heard, and leaving their men to do what they be. But a lot of us have been working hard to being visible. A woman has to be visible to be able to talk. A woman has to be equipped to be able to be at the table. Getting them to participate on radio is asking them to be at the table where the decisions are made.
Yes.
And we must really let them see that without you being where the decision makers are or weighing in on what the decision makers are considering in taking decisions, you will continue to be marginalized. So we must continue to encourage women. We must look for those women who are vocal, who have a voice. We are talking about amplifying voices and using radio and seeing radio as a powerful tool. We must to cultivate friendships with different organizations. There are the fashion designers organizations. We have market women. We have the hairdressers. All of those organizations, we just need to be more intentional in getting women to participate on radio. As a trainer, this is what I teach journalists and program makers all the time.
Yes.
You can't hold your hands and say, we're tired, we just don't want to be. There are those who want to be but do not have the access and the network needed to engage on radio. Perhaps if we're intentional about it and we begin to go to some of these organizations and associations and say to them, what would you want to say to the government about Tomato Sellers Association? Yes. And we ask them their languages. They don't need their husbands to talk about their challenges as sellers of tomatoes, as makers of garments. For instance, I come back to sanitary pads.
Yes.
We've been talking about the tax on sanitary pads. At some point, I think in 2020, I think so, at the beginning of the year, there was an act where they talked about, when I say they, I mean, I think it's the president, there was an act. And he talked about the removal of taxes on sanitary products.
Yes.
We just saw it in the act. We have not seen it being implemented. And so I'm using the occasion of World Radio Day and this idea of using radio to amplify voices to ask when would the tax on sanitary products and items be lifted? When will we have, we as women buy our sanitary towels and pads and other items without paying for it? There's no tax on condoms. They're given freely. And it doesn't even work. I mean, you cannot compare the value that you derive from sanitary pads and what you use it for with the same thing as condoms. Sanitary pads are not it's not something you negotiate. You use it as a matter of biological need and importance. You can negotiate condoms. You can decide not to use it and you'll be fine. You cannot decide not to use sanitary pads. You cannot continue to use rags and wrappers and socks and all of that because we cannot afford a sanitary pad. And those of us who know better should not hold our hands and say, we're not going to say anything because we can afford. So we must amplify our voices for other women to have access to sanitary pads. They're fundamental human rights, and taxes on it should be removed.
Thank you. Well said, indeed. It is 20 minutes to 1. This is The Big Question in WFM 91.7. The Big Question is a program where we discuss and propose solutions to issues affecting us as a nation and as citizens. And the big question today is using radio, a powerful tool for amplifying women's voices. Radio, a powerful tool for amplifying women's voices. My special guest is Anike Adefunke Treasure, CEO, lead consultant at Yellow Bloom Consulting. Thanks so much for still being on the program with us this afternoon, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, you do have the opportunity to call in. If you want to call in, go ahead and call in 07000 917 917, 07000 917 917, or you can also send a text or WhatsApp message to 070 317 56537, 070 317 56537. Let's talk about the VAP law and the Child Rights Act. These are laws protecting women and children, and some states are yet to implement this. And so, what can we do as radio professionals to further demand for the passage of and the implementation of these laws?
Oh, well, what can we do but to keep talking and to keep making programs that will draw the attention of the relevant authorities, in this wise the legislature, to do the right thing? I mean, look at this is a pet peeve for me. When a child is born in Nigeria today, this minute,
Yes.
what does that child benefit from the nation Nigeria? Nothing. Why do we go to Canada? We go to the US. We go to wherever, doubling at some point,
Yes.
at some time in Nigeria, it is doubling. Everyone is running
I'm
to
so
double.
sorry to interrupt. We have a call coming in. Can we take the call, please?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about it. Thank you. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good afternoon. What's your name, please? Where are you calling from? What is your name? Where are you calling from, please? Oh, lost that call. All right, please go ahead. We lost the call. Please go ahead, please.
Right, I was talking about the benefit a child born in Nigeria
Yes.
derives from the state. Absolutely nothing. So we should be talking about the vaccinating we see with the child rights laws that we're demanding for. A child born in Nigeria today, whether boy or girl, has no access to any benefit whatsoever. Until you get to the university, when you then go on the mandatory NYC, it's absolutely zero for an oil-producing nation of many years. How many? 61. I mean, so this is one of the real things about Nigeria, and something that we women should amplify, should give voice to, and we should not be quiet about. We need our children more than our adults to have something that they benefit from this country. For instance, what I'm advocating for is that every girl child, your first menstruation should be something celebrated by the state. The state should be involved in you getting at least one pack, just one pack of 10 slices or 10 pieces of pads.
Yes.
In a month, not too much. Where other nations are giving free education and access to health, our children don't have access to health at that. You have to pay for everything. They do not have access to free education. That's long gone. You know, the sort of things that we see nowadays, it doesn't look like our leaders, our government, our lawmakers are interested in how the Nigerian child fares at birth, 10 years after birth, 5 years after birth. It's one of the things we should amplify in the media as women. This is women radio, and we can do it.
Yes. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on gender-sensitive reporting, especially on radio? How can radio professionals or those in the media industry imbibe more gender-sensitive reporting practices so that there can be a balanced portrayal of the male and female gender in the news? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, earlier on, I talked about my work as a trainer.
Yes.
I teach and I train journalists and program makers on gender-sensitive reporting and programming. And one of the things that I say is that we must discontinue, intentionally continuing the biases against women politicians. When a woman is
We lost connection there. We're trying to reconnect with Anika Difunke Treasure there. In the meantime, I just want to let you know that if you want to call in, please by all means do so. Go ahead and call in on 07000 917 917 07000 917 917. You can also send a text or WhatsApp message to 070-317-56537, 070-317-56537. Yes, I'm trying to reconnect back with Anikadi from Get Treasure. Sorry about that. We lost connection there.
Right. I was
Yes.
saying that when a woman chooses to be a politician, it
Yes.
doesn't mean or translate to that woman being wayward.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that that woman is loose. So we must help in, in addressing this issue of shaming women politicians as
Mm.
women of virtue.
Mm.
And the men also must be gender sensitive. You
Mm.
don't have to have your political meetings till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. at night.
Mm.
You must realize, and you must be considerate and see and realize that women are homemakers as well.
Mm.
So when you have women coming forward to be politicians, you must be gender sensitive to know that the society doesn't really like women who stay that, late at night, come back home. If you have to have your meetings, have it at daytime.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be at 3 a.m. I understand that sometimes it will, extend to pretty much the week hours of the day. It shouldn't be the norm. That it then becomes like a cult.
Mm.
It becomes like a secret society. There is nothing secret about being in a political party. Women also should look into this idea of making or reserving women leader of the political party to zoning it to women, and after that, then what?
Mm.
There are other positions within a party that women can occupy and do extremely well at.
Mm.
So we must begin to address this sort of things and practices and mainstream how not good they are, and encourage more women to add their voices and amplify this as one of the things that we don't want to see moving forward into the election year in 2023. So gender sensitive reporting. Also, we need to encourage our women politicians to get equipped.
Yes.
We should make them see that they need public speaking. If you're going to be addressing people, then you need to get prepared. It's one thing for you to be put forward by the powers that be within your party, but it's another thing for you to have invested in yourself to be capable of doing, of performing when you listen to that particular office or, we need our women to be empowered, to be truly invested in their future, in the participation in politics. So for us as journalists and program makers, we must continue to make programs around some of these issues we've talked about.
Okay. Thank you very much. As we wrap up on the program this afternoon, any final thoughts?
My final word would be a big thank you to Women Radio for all that you do in empowering the Nigerian woman and her family. I must thank your founder, my friend, So Kewali. You have done brilliantly well, my sister. I wish you all the very best. It's Valentine's Day, so I wish you a beautiful day, a day filled with splendid thoughts and items for your pleasure. And to all of you who work there, well done, well done. You're representing us women well. And I wish that this would translate into even more outlets across the nation. Well done, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very nice to have you in the program. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you on The Big Question this afternoon. My special guest has been Anikedi Funke Treasure, the CEO, lead consultant at Yellow Bloom Consulting. Thank you so much, Ma. It's been a pleasure having you on the program this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so that is it on The Big Question this afternoon. We'll be talking about radio being a powerful tool for amplifying women's voices in the society. Radio, a powerful tool for amplifying women's voices in Nigeria, in the society, globally, in the world at large. It is indeed a powerful tool indeed. Thanks so much for being on the program. My name is Timi Tokwe Ululeye. Join me tomorrow afternoon at 12:15 for another interesting episode of The Big Question, where we get to proffer and discuss solutions to issues affecting us as a nation and as citizens. Remember that conversations like this don't end here. We must continue to raise awareness on issues and continue to speak about the problem and, most importantly, propose solutions to it. Remember to continue to be a patriotic Nigerian. Thank you to producer Esther Laribe. Once again, my name is Timmy Tokwe Oluleye. Have a great day and continue to enjoy today being Valentine's Day.
The big question. Corruption is, in fact, is increasing more. We never had a snake and whether python and swallowing money. Why?
Everything has increased.
Conversational, controversial, and borderline disruptive. The big question.
Mondays through Fridays at 12:15 p.m. on your Women Radio WFM 91.